What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. Today's episode journey is being guided by none other than your host, Austin J, or hallucinodream, if you know him from the gaming community. And today's topic is episode 2 of the nutrition series, Carbohydrates. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and enjoy this episode. Blah, 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 blah. What's up, everybody? I'm being a little more quiet today because we just moved, and I'm sitting on our bed. We're not 100% moved in yet. This is set up on my nightstand that doesn't even have everything on it. The kid child is sleeping. I just built her a activity center. It's actually really cool. It's like an easel type desk. Has a whiteboard attached to it so she can draw on it, and then you can turn it into a desk so she can color. Has storage on the back for like books. It's very neat. Coloring books probably. But yeah, so still getting situated, and then hopefully, stuff and things. Thanks for those who are tuning in though, and thanks for those who are, maybe first-time listeners. This episode is part 2 of the nutrition series. We're going over carbohydrates. I feel like there's a lot of misconception around carbohydrates. I'm going to my mind has been racing for the past couple of weeks, so I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not 100% sure exactly how. My hair is crazy. I mean, I need to get a haircut, but I don't have time, Except tomorrow I'm going to get it. You can't see it, but it's like... Anyways, yeah, there you go. I don't know how efficient this episode's going to be, so the follow-up and question and answer, I'm probably going to add a bit more to it because I'll probably have more thoughts. And after each episode, I usually am like, wow, I should have said this, could have had that. But let's get into it. Carbohydrates. There's a lot of negative connotation around carbohydrates as well. People associate carbohydrates with weight gain and weight loss heavily. One thing I want to say about carbs is they are not your energy. They are one of the primary sources for fuel for your body. So the first thing when you need to utilize energy, the first thing your body wants to convert to energy would be the carbohydrates. Now that's not to say that you can't become efficient at burning fats for fuel, but that goes hand in hand with ketogenesis and keto diet or low carb diet. But for the most part, people don't get to that point. So there's a lot of negative connotation around carbohydrates in that aspect. One of the things that I don't think a lot of people know is that carbs carry not a lot, but they carry quite a bit of water weight. So let's say somebody goes on a keto diet. First couple weeks, they stick to it. 2-3 weeks, they lose quite a bit, 4, 5, 6 pounds, and they're thrilled. And then 2 months goes by, and then they start gaining that weight right back. That's because your body is shedding that water weight from the loss of carbs that have been stored in your body, and then your body needs to adapt to regain that water weight, right? So you're going to regain that back. It's not to say that that's a negative thing, okay? It's just something that I feel like not many people are told when they're told about the keto diet, and because of that, or a low carb diet, it doesn't have to be keto diet, but a low carb diet, and because of that, it really deters people from continuing because they just gain that weight right back, which realistically, if you think about it, oh, I lost the weight and then I regained it. I'm still on the same diet, doing the same thing. Clearly the diet's not working. The thought process technically makes sense if you don't understand the background of carbohydrates and how they affect basically your body and weight gain, weight loss, your hormone function, everything. But I feel like that's something that needs to be educated. That needs to be taught to people, right? Especially for those who may be interested in getting on a specific diet. And I want to say nutrition habit because I don't really like the term diet. Nutrition have it, like keto or Mediterranean or primarily vegetarian. There's a lot of different ones out there. Carbs are basically found in everything, and if you don't know, we're going to go over those. So the carbohydrates, the three main types of carbohydrates are sugar, fiber, and starch. Sorry, it looks like the daughter's waking up, so if you see that this is cut into two parts, that would be why. The sugars are the simplest form of carbohydrate, right? They're found in lots of different foods, including fruits, vegetables, milk, and milk product. Sugar, we went over that in the last episode, so I'm not going to really dive deep into that, so you can watch those, not the last episode, the first part of the nutrition series. So you can go back and watch those to learn a little bit more about sugar. Then there's starch, which is a complex carbohydrate. These are found in like vegetables, grains, cooked beans and peas, and then there's the fiber, right? That's something that is it's also a complex carb. We'll go over the complex and the simple. It occurs naturally in fruits, vegetables. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't wake up if you're watching on YouTube. Vegetables, whole grains, and cooked dry beans and peas. So all of which have benefits in the body. Sorry, she's starting to get distracting. So the complex, the part that is regarding the complex and the simple carbs, has to do with the glycemic index. And if you don't know what the glycemic index is, it's that index classifies the carbohydrates, the different carbs, and how they affect blood sugar. So a high glycemic would boost blood pressure. Sorry, she laid back down. Sorry. So high glycemic foods would boost your blood pressure faster. Those would be foods that would generally give you a sugar crash, I would say. So like like white breads, they definitely cookies, anything that has high sugar in it, that for the most part, white flour and some of the other flours, they are high glycemic foods, and they will, like sourdough bread, certain breads, and they'll spike your blood sugar and potentially give you that crash feeling. That's one of the good things about keeping a food log. I just recently started doing that. Again, I'm really going to stick to it because I really want to know. I just ate something today. It's actually a quote-unquote keto bar, keto snack bar, because we're moving. I'm eating not the best, and it really did make me feel like I was crashing. And I was a little, unexpected. So wrote that down on my food log, and I'm going to keep that in mind, that I'm going to pinpoint exactly what ingredient in there it was, but I would imagine it has something to do with one of the high glycemic ingredients that was in there. But the glycemic index is something you can find lists of that all over the internet. I'll try to find one and link it here if I don't, and somebody's listening. If you don't find a link to a kind of like a chart that goes over some basic foods and the index rating, let me know, and I'll add that later. I'll add it to this episode as well as the next one, the follow-up. And but that's something that's a little important to know, especially if you're trying to avoid that crash, that 2 o'clock crash feeling, or just the ups and downs throughout the day. And I think I said this in the last episode, but your body, when you're tired and you're feeling, let's say you get that crash feeling, this is where carbs become, I would say, kind of like a hassle. When you get that 2 o'clock feeling, that crash feeling, or you get that feeling where you, got that the high, we'll say sugar high, and then the sugar crash, that'll make your body kind of crave more. So just like we said about the sugars, it'll make your body crave carbohydrates as well, because it wants to use those carbohydrates for energy. Now, what happens is people get in this bad routine, and I've been doing this recently because of how much. I mean, I've been tired. My wife's been tired. The kid has been tired as well. Getting in this routine where I keep trying to compensate with these high glycemic, quick boost in energy foods, and it's just kind of like a roller coaster, up and down, continuously eating. So that's something of importance, I think, if you are looking to really, and I think it shouldn't be if, I think you should, I think everybody should, get a general idea of, how that index works, how carbs will generally affect, like the body and the blood pressure and, or sugar, blood sugar in your body, and, use that to your advantage to help manage your nutrition habits, right? So I think that is fairly important. I don't even think I went over what carbohydrates do for the body besides for providing energy. They do have some disease preventing, not preventing, I would say disease protecting, kind of attributes, like fiber will help protect against obesity, colon and rectal cancers, and type 2 diabetes. Fiber is essential for digestive health. I'm sure you've heard of that. Fiber is pretty important to put in your diet. That's one of the things people talk about a lot. Fiber also will help to reduce your risk of heart disease and stroke. So you want to make sure that you get fiber in your diet, and get good sources of fiber, right? And of course, it'll help control weight. So like you eat these good carbs, right? There's some good and some bad carbs that you get from fruits and vegetables, and they'll help to control your weight because they help to satiate you. Not as much as maybe fats and protein will, but they do. Yeah, they can. Sorry, she keeps moving. I'm getting very distracted. If you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna see. And anyways, but yeah. So there are definite benefits to eating carbohydrates, but it is not a necessity. Like it's not as much you need to for certain eat a lot of carbs, where like fats and proteins are. They're not as important as the fats and proteins. Let's say that. In regards to like eating that much, that's why people are able to have a low carb diet, a keto diet, and or nutrition habits, and sustain that for long periods of time. Sorry about all the distractions that are going on. I think I'm going to reiterate most of this in the second episode, but that's about I think that's a good sum of what carbohydrates are, and some insights on what you can look for to help with your nutrition habits. One thing that I do, and I've been doing for a long time, is I absolutely always avoid white pastas, white breads, I barely even eat bagels, and actually I try to avoid breads a lot, not because they aren't whole grain and whatnot, but because a lot of times they have a lot of extra ingredients in them that I just don't want to eat, right? But some of the carbs are high glycemic, and a lot of them are hidden inside of there. So what I do is, but if I what I do is if I'm looking for a bread or a bagel, I will get gluten-free if possible, but I will also make sure that it is, whole grain, wheat, or just not plain white flour or refined, any kind of refined flour if possible. That's not to say that you might run into, and I have run into situations where let's say I'm going to get bagels for the family. Sometimes I run out of the bagels that I want, right? It happens. Sometimes I go to the store and they literally don't have any bread that I want. So I make do because I know my wife's going to want some bread. Christina, you may know her if you're a returning listener. My daughter's definitely going to want some bread. I mean, she loves her toast, and she's actually really starting to like avocado toast. Love that part. And so I try to get the healthiest, lowest glycemic index bread there is. So that's just one little tip that I use to help specifically with carbohydrates and the glycemic index and try to prevent the spike in blood sugar. But there's multiple others. So next week I'm going to go over the questions and do a follow-up. So if anybody has any questions on anything they heard, please let me know, and I would love to go to them next week. If anybody has any tips on what they do to help with their carbohydrate nutrition habits, by all means, reach out. Let me know. I'd love to go over those as well, and tell everybody else what kind of tips and tricks people use in their own personal life. And next week I'll plan to go a little bit more in depth on the true benefits. Well, not true, but a little bit more on the benefits of carbohydrates. Maybe like, excuse me, wow, what they do on a cellular level. But we'll see. So again, I apologize for the quality and the kind of sporadic type, but I think we covered a good bit about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, just keep in mind, they're not your enemy. Okay, they absolutely are not your enemy. So thanks for tuning in and listening. Hope to see everybody next week. Submit those questions if you have any. Would love to answer them. If you're watching on YouTube, all the links are over here on the left of your screen. If you're listening on the podcast platform, all the links are in the description. And I will link a description to the glycemic index. If I forget, please let me know. And I hope to see everybody in next week's episode. Thank you.